42. Is that level? Is it a stand? Apologies if this isn't level. I don't know. We're just gonna go with it. Anyway, hi guys, welcome back to the Herd Wave, or welcome if you're new around here. So what I thought I would do, following on from my last video I posted, these are fast becoming one of my favourite cichlids. I still do love Malawi Tropheus. Don't love Malawi Tropheus. I still do love Malawi cichlids. Do not get me wrong. I still love those. But Tanganyikans, they're a different breed. Oh God. Literally. No. Tanganyikan Cichlids, I would say they are more elegant of a fish. That's just my personal opinion. Although they are quite scrappy. They're not really, that's not very elegant, is it? I thought I would finally get around to doing a species profile on these and just explain a little bit what they're all about, their care requirements, and have a little bit of fun with it along the way so you can learn and you can also enjoy this video. So if you want to see more content, don't forget you can support this channel by clicking the subscribe button. That really helps me out, and click on the notification bell, lets you know every time I upload a video. So now with that being said, let's get into the video. So Tropheus murai red rainbows, or their scientific name, if you want to get technical, is Tropheus kasanga. And that's it. Yeah, pretty easy to remember. First we'll start off with tank requirements. Now, so obviously there is lots of different opinions out there on tank scales and sizes when it comes to these fish. I'm not really a big fan of the whole, however the measurements of the fish are, then it's so many litres per fish and then you need to times this by this and this. That's not really how I tend to account for the size of the tank that the fish needs. I kind of go on a lot of different factors. So I would mainly think of the bioload of the fish, I would think of the type of species it is, its traditional characteristics, its traits, how many you need to have in a certain group of each species, male-female ratio, whether you need to account for aggression levels, whether overstocking helps rather than understocking or keeping it level. When it comes to cichlids, I think, me personally, it's sort of a, if it works for you, then don't worry about what anybody else said. If your fish is happy and healthy, that's all you've got to care about. You're doing a great job. So that's what I tend to think about. I also take into consideration when it comes to bioload waste that the fish produces is what kind of filtration you have in there. Do you have a sump? Do you have an external larger filter? Or even if you have a large internal filter, the front doors isn't just flipping out there. If you have a larger internal filter, whatever sort of filtration you have, that also goes into account. If you have a smaller hang-on back filter, then that is going to account for how many fish you can put in your tank, how that's going to deal with the bioload. So there's lots of different things when it comes into it. So what I would say is not everything is set in stone. If it works for you, then it's nobody else's business really. You can listen to their opinions, but one thing might work for them, another thing might work for you. So it's good to hear different opinions on things. It's good to share things. Something you might find something's really helpful, or changing how you do something might help. It might not, but at the end of the day, you do you. You do what's best for your fish. That's what I always say. Do what's best for yourself and do what's best for your fish. And as long as you know you are doing the very best you can for them, then that's goal accomplished. You can only do your best. So just bear that in mind when it comes to tank requirements and sizes. I'm just going to go off the generalization of most hobbyists recommend for the types of fish that we're going with. So for these types of fish, what the advised tank requirements are is, I work in litres. There's 300 litres per about 10 fish. The one thing I will say, you do need to keep these fish in groups. They don't do well in smaller groups, and they definitely don't do well as a single fish. So what I would suggest is that you get a larger group of them, of at least 10, to make them as comfortable and try to represent their natural inhabitant as much as possible. So I would suggest 10. I would suggest getting a group of 10 anyway. Obviously tank requirement size, the recommended amount is 300 litres. Like I said previous, I would take other things into consideration as well, such as your filtration, such as your lifestyle, your water changing habits. All those things need to come into consideration. As a generalisation, the recommended amount is 300 litres per 10 fish. And with that, don't forget you also have to include the size of the fish as well. If you are dealing with smaller juvenile fish, then they might look lost in a really large tank, so bear that in mind. And the thing about this hobby is you can always get an additional tank if you need to upgrade or if you need to change fish about sometimes. I never think it's a good idea just to have one tank. I always think it's a good idea to have a backup or multiple backups if you have more than one tank, but the more the merrier basically. So you can keep these with other Tropheus. Bear in mind there's certain other species of Tropheus that they perhaps might try to breed with. So if you're not bothered about crossbreeding, then obviously that isn't going to be an issue. If you are, I would do more research on which fish is actually going to try to breed with these. Generally, when it comes to other types of species of fish, they will try to find each other. But with Tropheus, because they are all one species, and there is subspecies of them, it tends to be a little bit vague in that area. So if crossbreeding is an issue, then I would just keep them as a sole red rainbow tank. If you're not bothered about that, then they are quite happy to live with other Tropheus. Just bear in mind you will need to research Tropheus are going to be compatible with red rainbow Tropheus, because not all Tropheus will go together happily. So temperature around 24 to 28 degrees Celsius. Not sure what it is in Fahrenheit, but I'm sure you can work it out through there. pH level, so it is quite a wide variance, so 7.6 to around 8.6. So you do have quite a decent chunk of pH variant there that you could go with, but they do obviously require harder water, more alkaline and alkalinity. Is that a word? Anyway, you get what I mean. But they do require harder water and more alkaline based water. When it comes to dietary requirements, these are omnivorous fish. So basically what that means is that they are a more vegetarian fish. They do eat lots of vegetation, but they also do require a little bit of protein, but it is more of an insect-based protein, not a fish-based. So no high levels of protein in their diet. They do fine with either pellets or flakes, whichever one that you prefer to give them. Personally, I feed my fish all the Northfin brand, and the Tropheus in particular, I feed them the veggie formula. So sexing these fish, other than to vent, which is the only surefire way to know whether it's a male or a female. So when it comes to breeding, these fish don't have a pair bond. They will breed with multiple partners multiple times, unlike say fish such as Antilamologus calvus, who will have a pair bond. They will pair off and they will only mate with that particular male or female. The male will protect the nest or the shell, for want of a better word, until the eggs are developed. Wait until they are juveniles and they are old enough to free swim and swim away from the nest. They will stay and protect them all that time. Just the same as Malawi's, Tropheus are mouth brooders. Females will cover the eggs in her mouth. She will turn them until they are ready to go out and survive on their own. The difference with Tropheus and Malawi is that if you have a species only tank, you can pretty much guarantee that the female will just spit the fry out and they will survive. They are actually really good parents and they will just protect their young, and they're not carnivorous fish by nature. So you pretty much guarantee that once you get fry in there, they're going to be okay in there. They're going to just hide away somewhere and not particularly going to be preyed on as food anyway. They may be preyed on for other things such as hierarchy, fighting over food, things like that, but they won't be preyed on for food themselves. Unlike say Malawi haps or even Mbuna, the fry really need to hide away. And even their own parents might actually decide to snack on them. So there is a big difference between these types of fish. So if it's something that you don't really like with Malawis, then Tropheus is probably the better way to go, because you won't see anything like that in a Tropheus tank. So in general, of a group of say about 20, you will probably get 2 to 3 more dominant males, and the rest of them will be more submissive. They will be duller in colour, or they may even show female colours. It's a natural way for them just to blend in and basically have an easier life if they are not the dominant sort. This is completely different to where you see unnatural ways of changing male to female colours, such as making your females look like males. Do not do this. I wouldn't advise doing this anyway. This is not good for your fish. It's not good for your health of your fish. But I especially would not advise doing this at all with Tropheus. It really messes up their hierarchy system. They need that balance in there to distinguish between who is the more dominant males, who is the more submissive males, and who is female. I've said it before about hormoning your fish. It is not good for your fish's health. It is actually detrimental to your fish's health. Please do your research on food that you are feeding your fish to make sure that it doesn't have any sorts of hormones added into there, or pigmentation altering substances in there. It is very hard for fish to digest these, which is why sometimes you see red in their poo, or you see your tank going red. That is a surefire sign that your food is hormoned. So just read the packaging. I have 2 videos actually on the food that I use, break down all the nutrition in these foods and all the different ingredients that go into these foods. Even if you can see a list of ingredients and you can refer for that video, you can see what those ingredients actually do for your fish, and you can see what these other hormone pigmentation foods actually do to damage your fish's health. So if you want to check that out, they're both under the Northfin. So it's Northfin Part 1 and Northfin Part 2. Like I say, it's not for promotion for Northfin. It is basically just to understand nutritional requirements and what is actually in food itself. So that might give you a little bit of a helping hand, maybe understanding and breaking down some of them, because sometimes it can be a little bit complicated when you're looking at food nutrition and understanding what these words actually mean and what's actually entailed in it. So I would suggest watching that video. It might give you a few tips on how you can analyze the ingredients that's in your fish food, and so you can see what these ingredients are actually doing for your fish. I wouldn't suggest using any of these types of foods or any of these types of products to enhance the colors of your fish, especially making your females look like males. It is not something, in my opinion, that a proper fish keeper would actually do who cares about the animals. It is more for vanity's sake. Please do look into this. And I've said it before, if you want your tank to all look vibrant in colours, then just only buy males. Don't buy females trying to make them look like males. They would not want this naturally. It is you that is doing this to them. They do not do this in the wild. However, on the other hand, with the Tropheus, like I'm saying, males sometimes will look like females. Now this is to blend in, basically. It's to show them that you have the dominant male, you have more submissive males, and then sometimes you just have males that will just take on female colours just for an easy life and just to blend in, which is actually quite smart, because they tend to get away with it because the females actually have their own hierarchy, and they will fight amongst themselves for who is the more dominant female. It doesn't particularly show in their colours, but they do establish a hierarchy in that group, which the males that just blend in with female colours, the females know that these are males and they don't include them in this. So I especially 100% would advise against do not doing this with Tropheus. It will mess up their hierarchy system so much. And like I said, even the females have their own hierarchy system, so trying to make them females look like males is really going to mess everything up. All that it's going to do if you do this is subject these females to being attacked by males, as well as being attacked by other females for their own dominance. So you're creating more of a problem for these females. They have their own issue within their female community that they need to deal with. Adding unnatural colour pigmentation to that is going to create problems with the males as well, because until they discover that they are females, you are going to subject them to chasing until they figure out that these are actually females. So Be very careful with things like that. It is going to mess up their hierarchy and it is not fair to the fish. If you do get females that are not ready to breed, they will drive the males away. They will not suffer them chasing them, they will drive them away. Hey! If the females are not ready to spawn, the males themselves will actually drive those females away because they see them as competition for food. So it is a little bit rough. When they're not ready to breed, the males just do not want them. The females will fight amongst themselves, not for the colourful males. They do not do that. They will fight for good food location spots, because before they spawn, do need to have a large food intake to withstand the gestational period of holding their eggs in their mouths. Because Tropheus eggs, they don't tend to have a lot, but they are very, very large. So, and they find it extremely difficult to eat during this gestational period, as well as tumbling their eggs around, because with them being so large, eating food just isn't really something that is comfortable for them to do, which is another reason why these females will fight amongst themselves for a good food location so that they can stock up before they actually do spawn. So as a whole, these are some really interesting fish, not only to look at, but when you think about how they conduct themselves, how their lives are, they are so interesting. So I would advise anybody who is fans of Tropheus I would definitely recommend getting these types of fish, because they are probably one of the easier types of Tropheus to keep, in my opinion. And they are certainly very vibrant in colours. They are beautiful, beautiful fish. So as always, if you're interested in keeping these types of fish, don't just take my word for it. Get out there, do your research, learn as much as you possibly can, and hopefully that will determine whether these fish are going to be suitable for you to keep in your hobby. I really hope everybody enjoyed this video. It's been a pleasure talking about Tropheus. I always enjoy talking about Tropheus. So if you enjoyed this video, you are more than welcome to subscribe to my channel. You can also click the little notification bell, and it lets you know every time I upload a video. So with that being said, don't forget to like, thumbs up, all that jazz, and I will catch you on my next one. Bye!